Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to a Thirsty Thursday edition. And I'm sure we're all thirsty to kick back a cold one and celebrate that our president has been acquitted. You just heard right from him, our president, and he went on a tear. The best part, I thought, and I say this all the time, we don't need writers here because this guy writes his own comedy at all times. He said that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff, they're vicious people. They're horrible politicians, and they're horrible because they have horrible policies. And we'll get into all of that and more later on with Frankie. But bringing you back to what we do here every day on Liquid Lunch. Every single day we mix it up. We left you with Manny Alejandro, Republican attorney from New York, and Sam Spicone, Democratic strategist. And we come back to you with another great duo of mixed political persuasions. Johnny McDonagh joins us. He's been on the show many times before. Great friend of the show. He is a comic. He's a veteran. He's also a New York City taxi cab driver. So he is more than anyone we have, a man who knows where the rubber meets the road. He's also the producer of Off the Meter, which is playing here in New York, in Queens. And it's also playing in Dublin, Ireland. And Aaron Comey joins us today. He's a libertarian candidate for New York City mayor. And guys, I want to thank you very much for joining me today to mix it up. I guess the big story today, now that we know the president is acquitted, to me, it's the obituary of Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney basically wound up being the first person ever to vote to impeach a president in his own party. And this guy has had some mixed persuasions in his life overall. He's gone from left to right, right to left. He's governor, Republican, Democrat, all this other stuff. Let's take a look at this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. This is Mitt Romney's position changes over the years.
I'm running for office, for Pete's sake.
Who is this guy? Can you trust him?
I have never supported the President's Recovery Act, all right, the stimulus. No time, nowhere, no how. I think there is need for economic stimulus.
You're only allowed a certain number of flips before people begin to doubt your character.
The big issue with Mitt Romney has been the issue of abortion. Has he flip-flopped on abortion?
I will preserve and protect a woman's right to choose.
The right next step in the fight to preserve the sanctity of life is to see Roe v. Wade overturned.
He was pro-choice, then he's pro-life.
Or he flip-flops again, just like he did on abortion, just like he did on Ronald Reagan.
Look, I was an independent during the time of Reagan-Bush. I'm not trying to return to Reagan-Bush.
The principles that Ronald Reagan espoused are as true today as they were when he spoke them.
There you go again.
You remember Mitt Romney? He invented Obamacare before he was against it. You remember that? Well, that's what we did in Massachusetts, and that is we put together an exchange, and the president's copying that idea. I'm glad to hear that. Obamacare is bad news, and if I'm president of the United States, I will repeal it. I don't think I've ever hired an illegal in my life. We hired a lawn company to mow our lawn, and they had illegal.
So, Johnny, what say you about this guy, Mitt Romney?
Well, we won't have to worry about who's going to win Best Actor in the Oscars on Sunday because that has to go to Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is a political mercenary. He's a Hessian. I want to go back to the 60s. Everybody's talking about what he's done recently, but back in the 60s, he got out of the Vietnam War, which he supported. So when he got his draft notice back in the 60s, he got a deferment. So in the honor of Nancy Pelosi, that's what he did with his draft notice. When he got his deferment from there, when that ran out, he became a Mormon missionary in France. He stayed in France for a little while. He got another deferment, and he went to Brigham Young University. So he is for all these wars. He was for the Iraq War. He avoided the Vietnam War, even though him and his father. Now, where does he live? Does he live in Utah? Is it Michigan? Is it Massachusetts? Is it Washington, D.C.? I'm just glad he's a Republican.
Aaron, what do you think about this guy?
Well, on the left, there's a quick rush to embrace him, as being principled, and I think that's a far exaggeration because he's shown a lot of flip-flops, as you just showed, but because he agrees with the left on this issue, they're embracing him, and I think that's disingenuous. If you're going to, you got to keep it, call strikes down the line. I think what he did was brave because, I mean, where's he go now? But I don't think he's a principled person. He has numerous policies that I disagree with, and I'm curious to see if this is part of his plan to endorse someone like Bill Weld now, because I don't see where he goes from here.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. I thought there were a tremendous amount of great things that the president said that were bipartisan in his speech. I thought one of the most touching moments to me was to see a 100-year-old Air Force veteran stand up who was in Tuskegee Airmen, one of, a bunch of people who couldn't vote but were fighting for our country. And Donald Trump said, hey, maybe your great-great-grandson will be in the Space Force. And that, to me, is like the American dream. You have a 100-year-old black man who served our military. He's a decorated veteran. And for Nancy Pelosi, and then he talked about, how handicapped unemployment is the lowest ever. Women's unemployment is almost the lowest ever. African-American, lowest ever. Asian-American. And for Nancy Pelosi to just rip it up, that's basically saying screw you to everything he spoke about. I thought that was terrible. What do you think?
Well, it's political posturing. It's clear that they don't care whether he's talking about good stuff or not. They have to, especially in this election year, they have to put up a front that they're opposing him, despite the fact that, they will come across the aisle, unite to, raise the deficit trillions of dollars to reinstate the Patriot Act. And it's like, these meaningless gestures mean nothing. If you really want to oppose him, do something policy-wise, and don't agree with policies that will, as a libertarian, like I said, just further the national debt.
What do you think, Johnny? I loved your little act there. We're ripping up.
You know what it is? Trump drags.
She ripped up everyone, didn't she?
Trump drags everybody into the gutter. If you took I and we out of his vocabulary, that State of the Union speech would have been about 2 or 3 minutes.
All right. Well, guys, I'm sorry we had a little shortened segment today, but we had to give the president his 2 minutes of time, and he went well over that. But I want to thank John McDonagh, Aaron Comey. Thank you very much. We got to have you guys back again soon when the president doesn't take up half our show. But after all he's been through, I think he deserves it. You deserve some more liquid lunch, and that's coming back at you right after this.